Good afternoon, or if you're on the West Coast, good morning still. My name is Ben Townsend with Tracker Products, and I am thrilled to have you here for the webinar that we're doing today. It's going to be a really good one. I've got a couple introductions that I'm going to make here. First, I'd like to introduce Max, who is the Director of Marketing for Tracker Products. And Max is always my cohort on these things. He monitors the question window for me, and so that when I get to talking and don't pay attention to the questions rolling in, he's going to jump in and yell and let us know that you have questions. And so, Max, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
All right. Well, it's great to have you here, Max. And as we get started, certainly as the questions come rolling in, and I'll throw that out to everybody in case you missed that as you were rolling in the last few minutes. We have a guest on here today. I'm going to introduce Krista at Des Moines in just a moment, Des Moines, Iowa. And I'll do an introduction of her in just a moment. But if you have questions as we're going along, and I think today will be a great day for questions, feel free to hop in there. Max is going to look through all of those, and then he'll throw them out to everybody, and we'll do our best to answer all of the questions that come rolling in. But let me introduce Krista. Krista, say hello to everyone.
Hello.
So Krista, this is not the first time you've done this webinar, but I feel like it's been a few years. I know that we did a virtual tour of your evidence room, but I feel like that was back in 2000. Was it possible that that was 3 years ago that you were here last?
Might have been. We did one on doing the oh gosh, why can't it inventorying? I can't even think of the term now.
Okay. The discrepancy reports, right? Yeah, the discrepancy reports that you guys do.
Yeah, I remember doing one on that too.
Okay, well, we're thrilled to have you back. It's always a pleasure to have you do these things. And in fact, I always say this when I have a guest on such as yourself. I think people semi-enjoy hearing from me, but they love to hear from people like yourself, because there is nothing better than watching what people are doing in the real world and seeing how they're using their evidence management system. And the reason I have you on here is because I think you do a fantastic job at what you do. In fact, I'm not only going to say that out loud today, but I'm going to go about proving that Krista is on top of her game, whatever it is in evidence management, but especially the topic that we're going to be covering here today. So we'll dig into that a little bit. Krista, why don't you, you know what, I did skip one thing I do want to throw out to everybody. I'm going to put, in fact, why don't, let me see here. I think that I can put this in the chat window. I do want to make sure everybody knows about this. I think everybody does, but I just posted a chat. So there's a chat window inside the GoToWebinar window, and I just posted a link to the Facebook community forum. We now have over, I think at last I counted, there were 1,300 members of the evidence management community forum. And I think probably everybody on here already knows about it, but in case you don't know about the evidence management community forum, you definitely want to get on that. It is a wonderful place to ask questions, see what other people are posting on there. It is really fantastic. So if you don't know about it, hop over there. The second thing I want to post, in case you don't know about this, let me post this in the chat window too. There is a link to our YouTube channel. So all of these, and you're already on here, so it may not matter for today, but all of these webinars are recorded and posted in our YouTube channel. And so if you want to get notifications about those things coming out, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you will be on top of all of that. And one other note that I want to make that is really, really important, on the homepage of our website, trackerproducts.com, let me go to events, and under events, I want to do the, one second. Max, which one is the safe in-person classes? Okay, so if you do not know about these, the webinars are fantastic. I would say the classes are absolutely critical that you attend those at least once every couple of years. And so it was fall of 2022 that we last did our classes. And so we have 7 classes that are on the board coming up between February and May of 2024. These are in-person classes, so they're not online. You attend in one of the 7 different areas where we do have a class. We're not in every area, but we have picked areas where we have a large concentration of clients, or a location where it's a little bit easier for people to get to, even if it's not right next door to where you're at. So you need to be aware we have 7 classes. The first one is in Burlington, Kentucky, which is our home here in Northern Kentucky, February the 13th and 14th. Of course, it's a beautiful time of year in Kentucky in middle of February. There is guaranteed to be gloomy, cold weather, but we will have a great event nonetheless. And this year we're doing a new one in Lexington, Kentucky. We have a lot of clients in Lexington. So we're going to, on February 28th and 29th, we're going to do Lexington, Kentucky. We will be in Canton, Ohio on March 13th and 14th. March 27th and 28th will be Chesterfield, Missouri, which is over on the east side of Missouri. And then April 10th and 11th will be in Maple Grove, Minnesota. April 24th and 25th in Frederick, Maryland. And then we'll finish out May 7th and 8th in Fort Collins, Colorado. So if you didn't know about these classes, there they are. There is a registration option on there. You want to make sure you do that. I can guarantee you that as valuable as these webinars are and any online training you might attend, the value you get out of being in a room full of people that are using our software and your ability to talk to them, it is second to none. I cannot produce an environment that replicates being at one of these classes. So if you can make it, definitely register for one of those, and we would love to see you. I think I'm going to be at most of the classes. So I do love doing these classes, and I think I'm going to be at most of them. I don't know that I'm going to be at all of them, but certainly the bulk of them. All right. I don't see any questions coming in, so I should have gotten that out of the way first. But now we're going to come back to Krista. Let me close all this stuff out here now that we've got a focus on Krista here. So Krista, you're with the Des Moines, Iowa Police Department. How long have you been running the property and evidence room?
I've been running it for the past 5 years. I've been in the property and evidence room for 28 years.
So you've been there for a few minutes. Is that what you're telling us?
Just a little bit.
Okay. And I'm just curious, a total off the wall question. What do you think the most significant changes between day one when you came in the door and maybe where you're at today? Is it even possible to put your finger on one thing? But, you know, maybe what do you remember about day one or something in that ballpark?
Oh my gosh, this
Can you
unit
remember?
was,
Can you remember
yeah,
28 years ago?
it was so outdated. I mean, they were doing letters on a typewriter.
Okay. You don't still have the typewriter, do you?
No, I switched it all to do a mail merge on Microsoft Word. I'm like, I am not typing all this stuff 10 zillion times.
Okay.
So,
So that was
and
your
then,
first major advancement, was to go to mail merge in Word?
well, for what I started doing it, and then went from the books. We used to keep everything on books to QTEL, and then merging everything QTEL to Tracker, and Tracker has been savings grace.
Excellent. Well, I love to hear that, and I'm thankful you're still not using the books. And so just a little bit about, to bring us a little more up to date with Krista. And I've been working with Krista. I think that she bought the SAFE system back in, it was close to 2015. She was one of the very first clients that actually went into the SAFE application. I remember at the time she bought it, she was right on the verge of, you know, do we put her in the old system, or, you know, the new system might, and I think I can say this now, I think she's all right with it at this point in time, but when she went into the new system, I think the feeling was it's not quite ready, but I don't want to put her in the old one, so we've got to move everything over. So I think you were the very first client that went into the SAFE system and started using it for real. So all I can say is I am very thankful that you hung around for all these years, because I think it's a lot better today than what it was when you first started using it in 2015.
Yeah, there were some growing pains, but went through it and made me learn the system very well. So
yeah. The good news is, though, you never had to go through the converting all the data and learning one system and going into the new one. So that would be the most positive thing about that. And so the thing, and I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier about Krista, there's very few clients that I might offer up that I would suggest are using our system as well as what Des Moines is using it. And again, I can say that verbally out loud, and you know, you wouldn't know if that's necessarily true or not. I always back this up with statistics. I like to get in and look at the actual numbers and see what they're doing. And so I got Krista's permission to go through some of these things. So everybody should be seeing my screen right now. I've got a dashboard up of Des Moines, Iowa actual evidence. And so, you know, the very first graph, and all of you should be very familiar with this graph, is the number of items coming in and going out over a period of time. And I am particularly always looking to see, are we getting rid of more evidence in a given year than what we're bringing in? And so, you know, one thing you'll notice right off the bat is that generally, and this has always been true for Des Moines, that twice a year you have these really heavy disposition times. And, you know, so then the blue line goes way up. And then, you know, at other parts of the year, it's not quite so high. But, you know, it looks like on average, you guys are bringing in, let's say 1,700 or 1,800 items per month, depending on the time of year. And in September, you disposed of 5,500 items versus, you know, 1,500 coming in. So, and then I'll let you comment on this in one moment. The other thing that really stands true here is when you look at the total status graph for Des Moines, there are 282,000 pieces of evidence that have been entered forever in all period of time, and 227,000 of them have been disposed of. So almost 80% of every item ever brought in has been disposed of. So even though this is a more current last year graph, it is for sure indicative of, over a very large period of time, you guys are doing large scale disposition, which kudos to you. I think every department wants to be getting rid of more than what they're bringing in. Would you have any idea, and I'm really going to put you on the spot here, even if you go back, you know, 7 years ago, right now you have 55,000 pieces of evidence in your evidence room. Do you remember, or would you have any recollection of how much evidence you had before you even went into safe? Would it even be around that, or would it be higher or lower, or would you even know that?
I imagine it's a lot higher than that.
Okay, so you think it was a lot higher before you moved into safe?
Yeah, because we did everything. We printed out, here's your cases, and so many people would just take the case numbers and throw them away. This one makes people more accountable, and they have to do and look at disposition now, when before they could just throw it in the trash.
And that might be, I think everybody that's listening here today would suggest that if after a 7-year period of time, you have less evidence, even if it's one piece of evidence left than what you had 7 years ago, that would be a really ideal scenario. And while we don't know what the total number is for Krista from 7 years ago, the fact that it is less at the very least means that there is an operation in place that is getting rid of evidence consistently. And that is always a key indicator of what is going on. And so to dig into that a little bit more, and one of the things I do love, and today we're going to talk about tasking, I want to throw out some statistics for everybody. I actually threw these out to Krista a little bit earlier, and she didn't know the statistics to be true, but I did some research. The very first task that Des Moines sent out of the Safe Evidence Management System was on February the 23rd of 2017. It may very well be possible, because what I love about Krista is when she hears about a new feature, she is all over it. So, you know, I doubt she took very much time to implement tasking. So it may very well be that on February the 22nd of 2017, tasking rolled out. And in that amount of time, here's what's interesting. And so at this point in time, we're a little over 6 years, let's say 6.5 years. And I looked it up, it's 2,428 days. In that amount of time, Des Moines has either in an automated fashion or manually generated just over 61,000 tasks. So 2,428 days, over 61,000 tasks. And if my math is correct, that averages to be 25 tasks every day, 365 days a year for 6.5 years. And so Krista, what do you think about the idea that 61,000 tasks have been generated in 6.5 years? Do you find that hard to believe?
Yes and no. It seems wow, but then we do a lot of tasks.
Yeah. So that's 25. So that is, let's just say in a normal work week, that's going to be 175 tasks per week. And just so you guys know that another statistics I ran to let us know that we're not too backlogged in this, as of right this minute, 353 of those tasks are active. So what that means is Des Moines, not only is the system generating 175 tasks per week, but they're closing out 175 tasks per week. How many people do you have that are closing out tasks? I'm just curious what that number looks like.
Usually it's just me.
I think people want to hear that it's more than that. I don't think we want to hear that it's just you. So you're telling me that primarily you're the one closing out 175 tasks in a given week.
Typically, I mean, the
Okay.
investigator does their response, and yeah, usually I'm the one that 99% of the time take care of marking it for
Okay.
destroy, making a release for, or whatever. Yeah, usually it's mainly me.
Would you have a guess as to how many hours in a given week you spend on just doing tasking? I mean, sitting down, just operating tasking, keeping an eye on it, making sure people are responding. How much of your week is dedicated to that?
Oh, really not that much, because I usually try doing it like first thing in the morning, and so maybe I might spend, depending on how long people let things go. I mean, sometimes it's just 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and sometimes it can be closer to an hour, just because a lot of people have been getting in trouble and they're working on them. So
Okay.
not a lot of time.
Okay, but you're obviously successful, and by the way, I'll throw this out to anybody here. This is where questions would be great. If, as you hear me saying things, if you want to ask Krista questions about this stuff, just toss them in there. I haven't seen anything coming in yet, but certainly I'll keep talking. But if you've got questions you want to ask, throw them in there. And I am curious, when you come in the given morning, how do you determine what you're going to start digging into? Do you start at the top of the list? I mean, how do you start handling these every day?
Yeah, typically, I mean, I have a system. Yeah, I look at the dates. I'll get an email notification, so I'll know what I kind of what I have.
Sure.
And then the best way to find them right now is, because the task notification comes out at 11:30 every night. So if I see a different time, because sometimes they get intermingled with what is
Yeah.
being sent out. So
Yeah.
yeah, just that. And then there's certain people, I'll make notes. So a detective will say, okay to release, but if unclaimed can destroy in 30 days. So then I copy that, and I'll see that, and then I'll just mark it for destroy and then close the task.
Got it. And so I think one of the other important things about your operation is you have a lot of supervisor buy-in, or at least you have a methodology where if the officer doesn't respond to these tasks, you are escalating them up to a supervisor. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this has obviously been going on for years now. How much wrangling do you have to do in order to get people to respond to these things? Does it feel like today it's pretty much just the way it is and you don't have a lot of problems, or do you still have a lot of problems after all these years?
My problems come on who the captain is in the detective bureau. If I have a captain that is supportive of me, they respond right away. If I get a captain that doesn't care, then it's a little bit more challenging. I've only had one captain where things were getting way out of hand, where I was having 700-800 tasks because they weren't getting non-detectives to do it. All the other captains have been helpful, and they get after them saying they don't want to see the fourth notice, and they better not see the fourth notice. And as soon as he starts getting that fourth notice, then everybody on the floor gets it, and then they all start doing it.
So I'll run everybody through that. I'll show you what she means about a second, third, and a fourth notice. But the point is, though, by the time you get to the fourth round on these things, multiple people are being advised, and so there is a bit of a peer pressure element to it to get these things resolved. And it's obviously got to be in line if you're at 353 tasks.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So somebody asked the question, how many people work in the evidence unit for Des Moines?
Well, right now we're running on 3. We had somebody retire, so we have four full-time people, and then 2 to 3 part-timers.
Okay, excellent. And that's just handling evidence, right? So I mean, it's grown over the years too. You got because I feel like when I first started talking to you years ago, you had 2.5 people.
Well, no, that's not usually we have around that same amount of people, because we also do impounds and we do quartermaster stuff.
Okay.
So we do
Excellent.
more than just the property and evidence.
Got right. Yeah. All right. You have multiple different areas. Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, so what I'd like to do is dig in here a little bit to some of this tasking stuff, because the thing that I'm not going to cover today is just how to enable auto disposition in the system. I don't know how many people that are watching this are using the auto disposition feature of our system. That would be a different webinar for a different time. But I would say this, or in fact, I'll let Krista say it. How highly would you recommend the auto dispo feature of the software?
Oh, it's a must.
Right, like you can't operate your evidence room without it. What would happen today if all of a sudden this thing went away? I mean, what kind of a nightmare would you be dealing with?
Oh, I'd cry. I don't know what I would do without it. It's just such a life-saving, and it makes things so much easier, and for everybody, the office of the detectives, for us. I mean, hands down, I don't know what I'd do if I ever lost it.
And so that's interesting to hear you say that. I think, something I do want to bring up now, a lot of people, and even you at one point in time, faced a bit of an onslaught where the agency wanted to get rid of the software, where I think the statement was almost made, hey, we can just use the RMS application for tracking evidence, which would not have had any of these features. How long ago was that you did face that?
A couple of years ago.
So how did that ultimately get resolved? I'm just curious, because I think people, if anybody out there faces that, it would be great to know, hey, here's what somebody else did. What happened when they ultimately came to you and were threatening to do that and to take away this thing that was so automating everything in your world?
I mean, you have to be very careful of, you don't want to be we've always done it that way, or closed-minded. So I said, yeah, I'll listen to what you have to say and we'll see how it goes. And so we listened to the spiel, and then we just started asking questions that Tracker does. Yeah. Well, they kept saying they could build it that way. And then, yeah. But you guys were already doing it, and by the time they built it, they were going to be already way behind you because you guys keep advancing. Yeah. So yeah. That was my selling point, is they're never going to catch up with you guys because they were going to build it to what we were saying at that day. So.
But you never had to quit. You never had to threaten to quit your job, did you?
No, not yet anyway.
Okay, because we've had other people that have had to do that, where I've actually had people say, like, I threatened to them that I was going to quit my job if they would take this away. And so, hey, I do want to be open-minded. I would say, or at least we want to be logical in what we're doing. I would always want to be open if there's something better out there, but you got to be able to show me that it's going to improve on top of what we're doing. That's our goal every day, all day long, is to keep giving you more reasons to be in safe, and that you don't get to a point where it's like, man, other people are doing things that are beyond you. So we're going to do a little bit of that today here. We're going to show off some of the things that I hope everybody here is using Auto Dispo. If you're not, maybe we can show you some elements of getting some of this up and running. And so, the thing I do want to do, Krista, so I did notice when I go into your system, and I won't save this, I promise, but I do notice that you have turned on task types and you have built these out. Why don't you run through real quick how you're using these inside here, maybe explain. We'll just start right here at the top. I see that you've got second task notice, third, and fourth. How are you using these as task types?
So when I go to the tasks, like I go to the back, I don't know if you want, and then I do a mass update. And so
Okay,
then
so you may go in, so like, well, and again, I won't save any of this, but we'll just pick a handful of items right here and go to actions and do mass update. And you're
yeah,
telling me if you have a bunch of past due tasking, you may mass update it and say, hey, I'm going to reassign this to somebody. Is that right?
right. Yep, I'll go up to the task type and I'll put second notice. And then
So I don't, for whatever reason, I'm not seeing that I can mass update a task type.
really?
You know what? Hold on. It's telling me it can only be edited by the task creator and org admin. So that's the problem. I'm not an org admin in your org. So that's all right. It's no problem at all. But you would do it this way and basically update that task to say, hey, this is the second or third or fourth notification. And then you would assign it to a new group of people. Is that right?
Yep, like so the sergeants and persons, so I'll put right there, person supervisor. So they're the
Okay.
sergeant. And so then I'll hit OK, which I like the mass updating because I can do several at a time.
Yeah.
And then then in 30 days, if they still don't answer, then I go up on task type, I change it to third. And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
I'll add the lieutenant.
Yep.
And then again, if they don't, 30 days later from there, I do the captain and then I attach the captain's name on the bottom of.
I'm just curious, how often do you have to go up to the captain level?
It's better now, like I said, 'cause I have a good captain. A handful of times, you know, every once in a while you'll get a few people. And then sometimes I find out they're like, oh, well, he was on baby leave. And it's like, okay, well, why didn't you tell me he was on baby leave? I would have stopped doing it, you know?
Right. Okay.
But
So
yeah, not too often right now. I mean, there was a period of time it was constantly captain, 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 but he wasn't very helpful. So as long as you have a helpful, like you say, you need the support of your command
yeah.
staff on some of these things to help people do things.
So I want to take a moment and I want to show a feature that even Krista, so this is the other great thing about Krista. I was telling her a little bit ago when we were preparing for this call, I was telling her about a feature that's available in the software. And so I do want to make sure, because you can tell here that the way that this is being done, this is all manual. So Krista is having to keep on top of these tasks and say, hey, they haven't responded. I want to escalate it up to the new level. And so just to point out where these escalations could come from, let me go into task settings over here, and I'm going to go to task templates at the top. So I can tell that Krista has not only got these task templates set up, but how many days do they have in order to respond that before this task could actually, well, I'm sorry, that they need to respond. So let's just say that we're giving the captain 15 days, or we give the lieutenant 15 days. But again, at the 15th day, Krista is having to manually go in and move it up to the next level, kick it off to a supervisor. There is a feature. I'm going to go to tasks. I'm going to go to settings and then organization. And I'm going to scroll down to this section right here, which is task escalation and user supervisor control. And I'm going to turn this on for Krista and I'm going to save it. All right. Now, the good news is, Krista, we're going to turn this off before the call's done today, because I need you to be aware of what escalation means. All right. So we do not want to leave this on. Okay, until you've had a chance to better understand it. But by turning that on, when I go into user admin now, it's going to enable this new supervisor option for every user. So one of the things Krista needs to do is to go in and take, like, let's just take these 3 users here. I'm not going to save it, but we're going to go in now and set the supervisors for these 3 people. And I'm just going to pick her name for right now. I'm not going to save it, but if I hit OK, Krista would be the supervisor for those 3 people. So here's the beauty of that task escalation. What'll happen now, because it's enabled, if we go back to her tasking tonight when that system runs, any task that is now past due, it will automatically escalate the task and automatically assign it to the supervisor. Krista won't even have to keep an eye on when these things become past due. It will automatically assign it to the supervisor. Okay. Now I will say, in your scenario where it may not work a little bit, there's no third and fourth level like what you're saying. It will only automatically assign it to that next level up. Okay, I don't have a way of having it go, well, if another 15 goes by, now go third level. If another 15 goes by, go to the fourth level. But at least it's going to automatically handle that second level for you, and then you'll just have to handle the third or fourth. And if I said anything wrong about that, if anybody on my side, I know we've got some people with Tracker watching, if any of that is not true, hop on the message window and let me know that. But I don't believe that there is a third or fourth level with those things. So, Krista, I'm just curious, seeing that right there, is that something you would want to enable?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go back. I will say, I think the thing before you leave that on, because here would be my concern. If we go back and look at all of your tasking, I'm going to pick the due date. Let's just sort from the oldest. You can see how many items, how many of these due dates are from behind today. Now, to be honest with you, it's not as many as what I thought it was, but there's at least 50 tasks that are currently past due. If we leave that system on tonight, it will automatically escalate all of these past due tasks and assign them to a supervisor. You have already done that. Like I see in here that these tasks, you do have the supervisors assigned to it. So one of the things you may want to do is mass update these tasks and kick the due date down the road so that it doesn't automatically kick that off tonight. Because I don't think you want to escalate all these. You want it going forward, not in arrears.
Okay. Yeah, correct.
So I might want to dig into that, but I will say, I mean, it looks, if I go to page 2 of your tasking, well, let me see here. We're getting a little closer to today. So it looks like I'm going to say half of your tasks, maybe a little over half of all your tasks have a past due date. Man, I would want somebody on my side. Can you check on that and make sure that I'm not wrong about this? If escalation is enabled, what's going to happen tonight with the, let's say, 250 tasks that are already past due? I don't think it just skips them. I think it does escalate them. And if that were to happen, then that means you don't want 250 emails going out tonight that they're already escalated. They are already escalated. You've just manually escalated them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I change the due date?
Well, I think you can do that. I think you can go in and do a mass update like what you've done, and you can go in and change that due. I can't do them here, but I believe you can go in and kick that due date down the road.
I can't. I can do it.
Okay. Yeah, see, Krista doesn't mess around. She's talking to me and testing this on her end. So I am yeah, so Beth is telling me that she believes that the task will get escalated, but emails won't be sent out. Hey Beth, can you confirm that with somebody in Dev real quick and see if we can get an answer to that before the end of our call here? Because I would like to know that. We definitely want these escalated, but I don't know what it's going to do with the legacy ones, and we need to get an answer to that real quick before we get too far. Okay? But I would, one of the things that I would suggest, if you have no idea what I'm talking about with these task escalations, the task templates. Task templates came back out in May. If you don't know about task templates, let me kick this YouTube video in the chat window here real quick. Hold on one second. Hold on. Yeah, that's the right one. So I'm going to put this link inside the webinar chat window. You need to watch this video right there. It's only a 7-minute video, but it explains how to turn on all this task templates that Krista has turned on in her system. You need to know how to do this. So before you start escalating, I mean, you actually, all you need is auto dispo enabled in order to do task escalation. But if you don't know what these task templates are, you definitely want to watch that video that I just posted in there. So hopefully everybody's getting that in the chat window. I've posted 3 links in there. The third one is the video on the task templates. So let's go back, Krista. I guess one of the other things that I want to hit before I get into some of the other futuristic things that are about to come out. I see in here, so your task, I mean, like, for example, this okay to destroy, is that, because that is a task type, was that originally an automated task that went out, or did you manually create this one?
I created that for detectives to let us know that so they don't have to wait for the auto-generated task. So I was trying to make things as easy as possible. So I created that okay to destroy so they can just click buttons to tell me I can get rid of things.
Okay, I got you. So, because one of the other things that I do know you're doing, if I go back to your menu, your main menu, and this is probably important for everybody to know, if you look at Krista's auto dispo statistics, and this is a window that if you're using auto dispo, you should have this turned on in your site. It's under the add widget window. If you scroll down to the very bottom, you want the auto dispo widgets turned on. Just so you know that in Des Moines, they have 127,000 cases that they've entered over all time, and only 9,500 of those are active. 117,000 have been closed out completely. There's no active evidence in it. Those are really solid statistics. But right below that, I think this is what Krista is referring to, where right now there are 100 cases that have gone out for request for review. But there's 197 that are about to come up in the next 30 days. And tell me how you use this to keep on top of that and keep ahead of it. Because don't you do that, right? Like you look at what's about to come and you try to beat the system to the auto dispo task, right?
No, not really. I just go to task and I just go at the very end and see what's coming up.
Okay, so you're now just completely reliant on it. You're not going in and saying, all right, in the next 30 days, these cases are coming up for review. I'm going to try to jump in there and look at them.
Correct. I used that. Remember a long time ago, I was coming up with cases where like the review date didn't get changed.
Yes.
And then you created that closed cases and that date thing for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I used it a lot before that because I had to find, okay, I have a case that's not closed. It's still showing up in auto dispo.
Sure.
But now I don't use it ever since you created that. Let's search for all cases to close and what tasks are showing closed, but the review date is,
so that's under settings, organization, and then go to the auto dispo tab. And this is where you're going in and you're looking for cases that can be closed out versus you're trying to just keep ahead of all of them.
Right. And then like right here, so something happened, view one case. I have a case where the review date is wrong.
Oh, I got you. Okay. So yeah, you're just keeping on top of all these statistics to see if anything's falling through the cracks. So,
Yes.
Hey, Krista, don't worry about it right now. We can finish this. You're going to hop in and try to find that while we're talking here. So don't worry. You get to it when we're done. So, yeah, you got to keep on top of all of this stuff, but you can see how when you've got auto dispo turned on and you've got all this stuff flowing and you're keeping on top of all your tasking, man, this stuff can really move through the process. All right. So you told me but you did manually create this. So I guess my question is, explain to me again, why did you manually create this if the system was going to automatically generate out the task?
Because, so like this, Kelly Chido here, she does stuff with narcotics. So this gives her an opportunity to not have to wait for the,
Oh, I'm wrong. She created this, not
yes,
you.
right.
Okay. So she's just telling you. So like when you go into the details here, I can probably look at it and she's told you, actually she
She,
hasn't told you anything in here. How would you know? She's just telling you it's okay to do it. That's like based on that. Oh, wait, it says right here, you have my authorization to destroy these items. Case shows closed.
yeah, that's one of the things I created under task settings. So that is okay to authorization to destroy items. So just like the second notices, and then I also have one that I created is, you have my authorization to release these items, and then the message is, please release these items to semicolon, so they know they just have to type in a name.
So
So
I think what's crazy about that idea right there, I'll bet there's a lot of people on here that would say, I'm having a hard enough time getting people to just respond to the auto dispo request, much less actually training them to get ahead of it and let you know to go ahead and do that. How did you pull that
um, it's only a few that do it. She does it. The narcotics people do it a lot.
off? Okay.
Getting into, and it comes in handy too, because we have a very small garage area for our large items. So I created one saying, hey, this is a very large item. I don't have the space. Can you look at seeing about getting rid of this? And that's another task thing that I created where I can just click on the item and do a couple clicks and this message will go out to create a task.
Right.
So I done it for me and I done it for detectives to try
Yeah.
making it as easy as possible for them to send us a task to release the item and all that.
Excellent. So what I'm seeing here is these 4 tasks up here, Kelly sent them to you, authorizing you to go ahead and get rid of it, which, at this point in time, do you go in and change the review date on the case so that it's down the road after you would dispose of all that evidence? Because obviously you don't want an auto dispo task going out to her when she's already authorized you to get rid of it.
Yeah, click on the details. So my next drug destroy, because she's in narcotics, so hers would be drugs. So here's the review date of December, I think 2023.
Yeah. So, I mean, this particular case right here has 2 items in it with no
Yep.
tags on it. You probably just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, and so I would mark it since our next destroy will be March, April. So I'll make my tag March 2024 drug destroy. And then
I won't save that, but that's what you would do.
yep. And then I would go to the case and I look at the review date to make sure the
Got it. Yep.
review date will be after March 2024. So it's December, so I'll just change 2023 to 2024.
Well, Krista, how long have you had this task? What are you waiting around for? I mean, I thought you were on top of all this stuff.
Well, I've been rudely interrupted by this webinar.
I'm so terrible. Yes, I interrupted your day, or you would have been all over this. So that's funny. That was a total setup right there against us. But
Yeah.
no, that's awesome to see that. So let's do this, because I mean we probably could sit here and talk all day. And if I don't see any questions coming in, which means we must be doing a fantastic job of going back and forth. There are no questions to come in. And I've not seen a response from anybody on my end about what happens when that escalation is turned on. So I may need to send an email out to everybody and let you know what that answer is. One way or another, we will get an email to go out. But what I do want to do is take a little bit of a right turn and show you something that is going to come out in the very near future. It's actually already in development. Let me log in here. And I'm just going to show off. So this system that I'm logged into here, it's a couple of versions ahead of what everybody that's on this webinar currently has. So I'm showing you some futuristic things that are out there. And so one of the things that we are attempting to do, and I want to preface this by saying, you do not have to do any of this. You know, clearly auto dispo is a feature you can use or not. Task templates are a feature you can use or not. You know, we show these things off because we believe that using them is going to greatly enhance your operation. But just keep in mind, you don't have to do what I'm about to show. But what we are attempting to do is to get into a realm where the system is doing even more of the heavy lifting. So like a minute ago, I showed that where, you know, Krista is escalating all these tasks to a second, third, or fourth level, but she's got to keep on top of that to do it. And so by having that new feature now that she didn't know about, and Krista, I'm going to leave it up to you to remember to turn that off, because I'm going to forget to do that. Remind me at the end of this, turn that off, because I don't want to mess your system up tonight. All right.
Okay.
But nonetheless, Krista's having to keep on top of that manual escalation. And so by turning on that new feature, she didn't know about it. At the very least, the first level is now going to be automatically taken care of. So let me show you something really cool. I'm going to go in. In fact, what I want to do is I'm going to go into this system, and I just want to find a case that is. Let me find something that's newer in here. And let me pick this case right here, and it's got one item in it, so this is perfect. All right, and so I want this item to go out to the officer for review. All right, so this is a very common practice. In fact, this is what we've been talking about, is going in and saying, hey, I want you to authorize this item for disposition. Okay, and so again, very common that Krista's doing this every day, all day long. No big deal here. Let me hold on. I want to assign this to myself here real quick to make this work. Now let's save that. All right. So now, I know we wouldn't do this in the real world, but a task created by me, assigned to me, we're not going to do that. But I just want to show that off here today. What is going to happen now with this futuristic option if you do want to do it? I'm going to go into the details of this task now, and what you'll notice is the items tab is now lit up in yellow. It lets the person know you need to go in here and respond to these things. In today's world, the officer, let's just pretend that there's 10 items in this case. The officer is going in and saying, hey, Krista, do this to item 1, do this to item 2, or do the same thing to all 10 items. And then Krista's having to go in and do all of this work. In the futuristic world now, the officer is going to be able to go into every individual item and tell you what to do with them. So they can say, I am approving this for disposal. I'm approving this for release, or I want you to hold it. I want you to hold it for 365 days, or maybe, yes, go ahead and get rid of it, but I want you to hold it for 90 days first. And so by going in and doing this, and so if I select time disposal, now they're going to have to say, when do you want me to get rid of this? Well, after January 23rd, go ahead and do it, or January 3rd. Or if they were to go in and say, hey, it's approved for release, it'll pop up and say, who do you want to release it to? The owner. And now you can pick people that are in the case. This is stuff that today you're having to manually do all of this. And so when this is released, and I'm going to say, I think we're 60 days away from it because we're still building it and making it better. You guys are going to go from a world of manual everything to auto dispo with a flavor of manual to it, to where you will have the option where this thing can be automated from the moment it comes in the room and you put it in the evidence room. The notifications can be automated. The responses, the officer will go in and respond. If they don't respond, it'll automatically escalate it. And then hopefully they will respond to these things and tell you exactly what to do with it, so that by the time you get this notification, it's all been done. They've already answered every question about exactly what needs to be held with this thing. And now you're not having to do a lot of these things. And then we can wrap workflow around them. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are going to come with this. And my game plan today was not to dig real deep into this. I just want you to see this is the next advent where it's going to automate it from beginning to end. And now all you have to do is keep on top of the tasking that's in there. That'll be it. You won't even, Krista, you won't even have to use the tagging anymore. Things will automatically be approved, and now you'll just run reports on everything. Give me all drugs that have been approved for destroy, and that list has already been done. One other thing to just toss this out to you guys, because I'm showing you right now, this process right here is the officer answering it. You are also going to have the option of having supervisors approve the authorization of doing this. So that is done. Let me go to settings, organization. I believe it's under here. Yes. So what you'll be able to do inside your auto dispo. So Krista, you're familiar with this screen, but you're not familiar with this new section down at the bottom. When this update comes out, now you'll be able to say, depending on the type of item, do I want a supervisor to have to approve that? And so if the officer, when they get the request, says, yes, go ahead and dispose of it, because of the type of item, it will automatically bring the supervisor into it. Then they can respond, and maybe you have a third tier of approval. Okay, great. If it's maybe not ammunition, but let's say drugs. Not only do I want the supervisor to approve it, but there is a third tier, and here is that third tier. And so now there isn't any more, hey, did I get the right people to sign off on this? Did I put the tags in place? Am I keeping on top of my tasking? This stuff will be able to flow through and be far more automated than what it is today. So that's not everything, but that's a little bit of a hint as to what's about to come out. So we will have more webinars as the year comes along where we'll dig into this, but I will tell you this. If you show up at those training classes, this is going to be a large part of what we're going to talk about when we're in those classes, and you can hear how other people are doing it. Okay, I do have a couple of questions. I'm almost up. Krista, we were having so much fun, I wasn't even paying attention to the time. I had no idea we're coming up on an hour here now. So let me see what the questions are. The first question I've got is by Patrick Lally. He said, will you get a notice generated by the system on the future disposal date? I'm not sure exactly what that means. I think what you're saying is the system is not going to notify you. Actually, Krista, does that question make any sense to you? Will you get a notice generated by the system on the future disposal date?
Right, because I was kind of thinking the same thing. So if they go in and mark it to destroy, or they want to hold it.
Okay, yes.
Some people like to kick the can, like, hey, I'm retiring in 6 months, so I'm not going to look into it, and I'm just going to say hold until I'm retired.
Yeah.
Is there a way to adjust that date?
So, I don't know that first of all, you can adjust that date. You will have the ability to do that. I don't know that it's going to notify you when that date is picked. You will be able to run reports. For example, if I were to go in, let's just go into search and let's go to items. And then you're going to have some new fields down here at the bottom in regard to this one. So dispose after date. So I might be able to go in and say, in fact, I might even have a dashboard element that says, give me everything that is newer than, let's say they kick something more than 180 days down the road. Running that report right there, I believe I'm saying that correctly. I don't know. Sometimes I get that wrong, and it may be negative 180. But that will show you every date that's more than 180 days down the road. So I would have a dashboard widget element that would show me, in case somebody starts to pick things like years and years and years down the road, I would be able to see that and probably deal with that a little more accurately. So that's actually really good. Go ahead.
After they make their notation of release to owner or hold, is it going to still be an option where right now they can't close the task, I close the task? Is that going to be the same thing where the task will remain open, or will
That's correct. I believe that whatever settings you have in place on that will stick. So if you don't allow your officers to close their task, then that would follow that methodology.
So we could review what they added on there to see like,
Correct.
okay, he's just kicking the can
Correct.
or he's legit, and we can
Yep.
adjust the review date. Because some people, for me, they arbitrarily say review in 5 years, and I'm like, nah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I'm only going to give you 6 months or a year. Sorry, you're not going to get 5 years to review this.
So there is, I will tell you, if we go back, let me go back to that auto dispo down here at the bottom. One of the options we didn't spend a lot of time on was the max number of days. In fact, here's the answer. The max number of days that an item can be held, or if they say indefinite retention, you as the admin are going to pick the max number of days that they could do on any one of these things. So if I were to switch these to 365 days, that means if they say, hey, I don't even have an answer, just hold it indefinitely, well, the max number of days would be 365. And if they were to say, and I think this will apply to that disposition, if we were to put in here, 90 days, they could never pick a date more than 90 days down the road for that. So that is the answer to that.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. All right. So the next question, and some of this may have come in as I was answering some of that. How would I remember to pull the items for destruction 2 months later if the system doesn't remind me? Well, that's where I would say you're going to have reporting on, for example, I would go in and say like this right here, give me a list of every item where disposition status equals approved for disposal, but the status is still checked into my evidence room. Or maybe I'm just looking for drugs at this point in time. So I would go in and say, give me every item where it's checked in, it is drugs, and it is approved for disposition, or some flavor of that right there. And whatever that resulting list is, that's every item that you can dispose of. So I would imagine you would also have a dashboard widget that would show all items that are approved for disposal. You may even have those broken down by categories of items. I think the
widgets.
You're right, widgets. Yes, right, exactly. So what Krista's saying there is, and I don't know what your screen looks like. My guess is, how many widgets would you say are on your desktop right now, Krista?
Oh, I have like categories. I got narcotics. I got my own. I got drug stats. I probably have 100 different
Wow.
searches and saved widgets.
Why don't we do that? Can you, if I flip the screen over to you, can you show me what your desktop looks like?
Yeah.
Okay, so here, I've made you presenter now, so it should have popped up, and can you go ahead and show your screen?
Where do I do that at? Where am I at? Oh, there it is.
It should be at the very top of the panel. There you go. All right, yep. I see you're in Microsoft. You're logging into Microsoft. There you go. Excellent. Yep, I see you're logging in. This is really bad on my part. I did not tell Krista we were doing this, so it's almost unfair to throw her under the microscope like this. But you're a good sport, so I appreciate that. So you've got, so here's what your dashboard looks like. You want to start scrolling down and just show us the totality of what's in here.
Why can't it? Oh, there we go. So this is the one on the far left. That's the one I work on most of the time. So
Yep.
I have 4 items in my temp locker, and then this is my drug temp locker that they got to sign out. This is, I have 60 items ready for destroy. We pulled 305 items that we need to log off.
Wow. Good night.
The different monies that I have, and then over here I got narcotics, what they have over there in their temp locker, because they keep some things in narcotics.
Stats. Wow, yeah. Look at all that. My goodness.
It's yeah, I'm a little fanatic on that.
Does anybody out there that's listening want to claim to have more statistics than what's on this screen right there? I mean, that is fantastically insane. How about that? I'll go with that word.
And actually, I lost some things, so it's kind of not as much as it has been.
Well, there you go. You got to keep it in check a little bit. You can't have too much on there. So I think, Patrick, to finish out your question, it's dashboard widgets and elements like this that are displaying that data so that you can see this is the stuff being disposed of. So I know, Krista, when I talk to you, and we'll sort of stick the landing here because we're out of time, but earlier when I mentioned the idea of doing this, now that you've seen some more of this come out, could you imagine doing that where the officers are answering the questions very directly, and now you're using widgets to just see what they've responded to?
Yeah, it will be very handy, but it's something that I'd still have to keep a close eye out.
Sure.
Because as soon as they find out that I'm not watching it, they'll start putting dates, like, hey, hold on to it for another year because I don't want to mess with it. So
yeah,
that would be the only one where I'd be concerned about of not.
Yeah.
So there'd still be the releasing stuff would be good, them marking specifics, because then it takes the control kind of out of you of accidentally clicking on the wrong item.
Yes.
So then it kind of falls back on the detective. It's like, well, you picked it. I just did what you picked.
Right. Yep.
So,
yep.
I mean, we'll have some people that won't use it, and but a lot of them do.
Somebody asked a question, how many officers does Des Moines have?
We're right around 375.
Okay. So, okay, another question came out from Rachel. What happens if an officer who logged the evidence no longer works for the department? Where do the auto dispos go? Whoever the case is assigned to is going to get the auto dispo. So one of the things you need to be in the habit of doing is when an officer leaves, you need to go in and search for every case where he is the primary case officer and reassign those cases. And you can do that via a mass update and assign that to another officer. But you definitely want to keep on top of that so that notifications, or what'll happen is notifications will be going to the wrong people, and then you'll be noticing that in your tasking. Oh, hey, wait a minute, this person isn't here anymore. So you just need to go in and bring up all the old cases and reassign them. Okay. All right. I said last shot for questions because we are over time now. Krista, we could spend hours just sitting here showing what you're doing. I'm sure everybody would love it all day long. But thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you being willing, with almost no notification whatsoever, to be put on the spot here today. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, I mean, you can give them my information.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, since you offered that up, if you don't mind, I will, do you want to think about that for a second? I think there's 45 people that are watching here right now, so it's not that many people.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Inside the chat window, I put Krista's email inside there. So if you have questions you want to ask Krista, she's wonderful to talk to. You'll really enjoy that. But there's Krista's information, and you can reach out to her. I will send out an email to everybody that watched here today, what that answer is if you turn that escalation on. So Krista, one thing we do want to do is I want to go in and turn that off for you, and I'll get everybody that answer, and then you can determine how you want to flip that back on.
Oh, I turned off that notification already.
Even better. So you're good to go then. All right. Yep. I'll send out that email to everybody, and you can determine if you want to flip that thing on or not. But if there's anything we can do at any point to help you out, just let us know. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.